Throughout 2024, I played a lot of games, but they weren't all from this year. I took a look back on what I spent a lot of time on, and I thought I'd put together a video talking about each one and a little history about them with me. In order to make the list, I either needed to finish the game or put so much time into it that I might as well have. Hello and welcome back to Society Case Files. My name is Robert. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Consider dropping a like as well. I've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right in. These will be the top 11 games that I played extensively in 2024 because I couldn't settle on 10. Number 11, World of Warcraft: The War Within. I started playing WoW about a month after it came out, and the reason that happened was EverQuest 2 came out first, and I had played so much EverQuest that it was really not that much of an argument at the time. And I actually convinced a bunch of friends to follow me, but then Sony totally screwed it up. They had memory leaks, the zones were boring, it was a complete mess. And despite all the money they spent, getting Christopher Lee and other big names to do it, and honestly, it did look really good. And then don't forget that crazy water engine with that they stole from Titanic. That's not even about WoW, but I had to rant about it a little bit. Anyway, a month later, my birthday came around, a friend bought me WoW, and we all jumped ship and just had a great time. It was unique, it was beautiful, it brought back all the memories of playing Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2 and all those other great games. That is to say, I've basically played WoW at least a little bit every year since it was released. And while some of the expansions didn't grab me as well as the others, I did still get them, and a few of them really got me, and I put in tons of time, such as Shadowlands, the campaign. I kind of hated the campaign itself because it was just such a slog, but at the very end, the end game for that one just snatched me. I was able to really play the hell out of that game. Dragonflight added some pretty cool stuff to it, but the end game for that one didn't get me the same way. I just kind of felt like no matter what I did, it was just all the same. And even leveling up alts became lame because you could do it so fast that you didn't really experience the cool old content, or at least I should say the nostalgic content at that point. The way I felt at the end of Dragonflight made it so that I wasn't quite as enthused about The War Within as I thought I would be. But I tried it anyway because I'm a tool, and I actually enjoyed the campaign with 2 different characters. But at the end, I just didn't want to do the grinding for the better gear and try to do mythics or raids or whatever else. But WoW will always have a special place in my soul. I absolutely love it. The only thing that will probably kill it is an attempt to make WoW 2, but I can't really see them trying to do that. So anyway, that was one of my big games of the year because of War Within, and I just played the heck out of it. Number 10, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on PC. That was a mouthful. I love this game. I don't really think anyone could say that much that's terrible about it. It's just fun. It's beautiful. I initially bought it on the PS4. I upgraded it to the PS5. I bought it on the PC. For whatever reason, I just was better at it on the PC. I have absolutely no explanation for that whatsoever. In fact, I even used the same darn controller I used on the PS5, so literally I have no clue. But I continually get stuck at the exact same spot in the game. I finish the whole first continent. I play it like it's a part-time job, and then I get to a certain point after I get the family armor, and I'm just like, oh, there's a lot more to do, isn't there? And that's significantly into the game for me because I've done so much stuff at that point. I really just need to kind of power through to the end at this point and just finish it off. But whatever the case, I just haven't been able to do the last few things in that one. Regardless of all that, I just think this is one of the landmarks of just graphics and gaming in general. The fighting is so cool and the environments are amazing. And then there's that semi-multiplayer thing. That is actually a lot of fun. Running around with other people, just taking down villages. It's worth it. If you haven't already played Ghost of Tsushima, you probably just should, especially since they've got another one coming out so soon. May as well get ready for it because it's going to be amazing too. Number 9, Dragon Age Veilguard. The new Dragon Age came out to a lot of controversy. I made my own video about it, and I've even seen some with the comments. I can't really see what the problem was. I just don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but I wasn't all that excited about it to begin with, and that might be part of how this game won me over so well. In fact, when I saw the first trailers, I was like, oh, I really have no interest in that whatsoever. I was under the impression for some reason that you had to play one of these pre-generated characters. But then when I found out you can make your own, I was all in again, and I gave it a shot. As if you've seen my other video, you know that I got it on EA Plus or whatever it's called, and I wasn't disappointed at all. I don't know. Maybe it is all about the expectations, but for me, the combat was fun. It flowed really well. The story was entertaining. It's still Dragon Age, so it's got some really outlandishly weird stuff going on. Some of the environments are just insane. And the puzzles are all these weird magic-based things that don't make a whole lot of sense. But I don't know, maybe if you go into it thinking it was going to be like Inquisition, which I certainly didn't, and I'm glad for that because I love Inquisition. It's one of my top 10 games. And this is not it, but I don't know. It's somewhere in between. But what did you think of it? I'm just guessing that this is a polarizing question, so leave a comment and let me know. Number 8, The Elder Scrolls Online. Oh boy. Let's talk about a game that I played way too much all around, not just in 2023 or in 2024, but just in general. I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. I've been playing it since Arena. So the MMO version was not really that big of a stretch for me at all. In fact, I was so excited about it, I paid extra for the 5-day head start and then played it right up until the veteran level stage where the experience bar barely moved at all. I am really glad that they made a huge change there because I came back after they got rid of those and started going with the points that you spend. And that made it just so much better. I mean, night and day. And now it's just so fun. I've got multiple level 50 characters, all kinds of stuff. And I've played a lot of MMOs, but this was the first one that I took the plunge into proper endgame playing. I got into a guild. We did voice chat. We had to sign up for our events. We talked about what kinds of things we wanted before we went into an event. I did proper rating. I pretty much am at a point now where my character stomps everything in the world. It's just super crazy how much I was into it. And I think it's a fantastic game. The only reason I'm not playing it now is because I have honestly done just about everything I want to do. Sure, there's some new expansions and story stuff I haven't done, but that just didn't seem to be enough to install 150 gigs just to go back and do 3 or 4 hours of questing that really isn't going to get me much other than to see whatever else they came up with. All in all, I think it's still worth it, and I would recommend it, even though the expansions are kind of turning into a little bit of a cash grab. They're not all that inspired anymore, but whatever. I still think you should try it, especially free to play. However, and I know I'm rambling on this one a little bit too much, but one of the things that they hide behind the subscription is your crafting bag to carry all the stuff that you harvest, and that is crap. They should let you pay crowns for that, so you just have it unlocked all the time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That is a major complaint that I've talked about way too many times. Let's move on before I just rant about ESO all day. Number 7, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. If you looked at my channel at all, you know that I'm a Warhammer super fan, and this game was on my list forever, long before what I'm about to mention. So the only problem that Rogue Trader had was that it came out a week after I finished Baldur's Gate 3. So the comparisons were many. And Rogue Trader did have its share of problems when it first launched. Now, this didn't diminish its success at all. It's still sitting at overwhelmingly positive reviews. There is a ton of content. They did not skimp at all. I'm not quite sure it's as much as Baldur's Gate 3, but it may be because I keep running into random stuff all the time in this game. It's amazing. It's such a great example of the Warhammer universe, and I think they did a fantastic job with the aesthetic, the music, the sound. If I had any complaint at all, it's the fact that friendly fire in this is so prevalent. It's a miracle anyone's alive. And not just me shooting my friends all the time when I'm trying to shoot the enemy, but the enemy killing each other and themselves constantly. It's actually comedy. I don't even know if they meant for it to be like that. Maybe this is a mistake or a bug that should be fixed, but it hasn't been so far because the last time I played, got in a huge battle, and the bad guys were just killing each other left and right. I mean, they weren't trying to. As far as I know, they weren't like corrupted and turned in on each other, but anyway, it was really funny. The game's long as hell, and as of this recording on this video, it's available for 45% off, and I would recommend it even at full price, especially since they added a huge DLC that's just got tons of new content. So anyway, Rogue Trader, big thumbs up. Number 6, Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred. Diablo 4's campaign was awesome. It's actually one of my favorite ones they've ever done. And it was really the number one reason to play the game when it first came out, because they announced that seasons were going to start pretty much immediately, which in a lot of ways I was like, well, then why am I bothering to play this? I could just do the campaign during the first season and get it over with then. But then they announced that if you did all of your explores, like if you wandered around and got all the waypoints and all that stuff, then that would carry over to seasons, and then you wouldn't have to do all of it again. So that compelled me not only to finish the campaign so I could skip it for the season, but to go around and grab up as much stuff as I could. So anyway, when Vessel of Hatred came out, I was a little bit concerned because I had heard some complaints from streamers and stuff. But ultimately, I ended up really liking that one too. It was pretty fun. I will say this, I did a lot more season stuff before I jumped in and did the campaign. So my character was already well over 50th level when I started doing the new campaign. And I did that on purpose so that I would be basically in the same place I was when I finished the first campaign. That way it felt like there was some continuity, at least in my head. And I had a lot of fun. It was a lot easier than it probably should have been because I already kind of maximized my build quite a bit. But anyway, I don't know. I know that Diablo 4 has a bad reputation. A lot of people complain about it. It's got plenty of problems. We could all rant about it for a long, long time, but all in all, I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm not sure if I would recommend it now that I've played a bunch of Path of Exile 2, but whatever. It was a great time earlier in the year, and I'm not sad that I dumped a bunch of time into it. Number 5, Destiny 2. Oh boy. I don't even know what to say about this. Destiny 2 was probably an addiction of mine for quite a while. When I talk about Elder Scrolls Above being something that I really dove into for endgame, Destiny 2 is akin to that, but I didn't do all the raids and stuff. I just went crazy with PvP. I just loved it. For whatever reason, it got me, and I enjoy it. I still enjoy it even though I stopped playing for a very, very long time. In fact, I hadn't played in several months and loaded it up to do the video here. And I was like, why am I not just playing this right now? It's ridiculous. I don't know. Again, addiction. I remember I started playing Destiny way back on the Xbox with the beta. And then I was like, I don't really like this. But then a few hours later, I'm like, I really want to play that again. And that's pretty much been my experience with Destiny. I don't really like this, but I love it. And I've heard that a lot. I'm not the biggest fan of some of their story choices and some of the highbrow writing, in their opinion, at least, I'm sure. It gets a little old, especially when they start throwing out nonsense. Like, I've heard the word paracausal so much, I feel like it should be a household name. All around, they do have their controversy where they did the big layoff and that one dude was buying cars or something. I don't know. I tried not to pay too much attention to that, but I know that there's a lot of toxicity around it, so it's kind of hard to want to recommend it or even get into it if all that's true. But whatever. I wasted a lot of time on it. There's even the wasted time on Destiny that made me feel really sad when I saw the number. And I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm not going to regret it. Number 4, Dredge. Okay, Dredge is that little single-player fishing cosmic horror game that I did a video on, and it was absolutely incredible. I did beat it in 2 very long sessions. It took about 16 hours. It was some of my favorite gaming ever. I'm sad that it's over, honestly. I hope they put out another expansion or something because I would love to play it again. I absolutely recommend it without even a remote moment of hesitation to literally anyone, because I play all kinds of games. I'm into ARPGs, I do MMOs, first-person shooters, and yet Dredge, this crazy fishing game where you're just sailing around in a boat, it's both unnerving and relaxing at the same time. It's just fun, and I think everyone would enjoy it. Probably because I'm an idiot. I don't know. But whatever the case, It's awesome, and it's on super sale right now. I don't know how they even did what they did. How did they make it both scary and kind of anxiety-ridden, but yet relaxing at the same time? No clue. It's something I loved, though. It wasn't just the atmosphere and story that did it, though. I mean, I loved the mini games. They just became super addicting. And upgrading the boat was also something I just wanted to do. I just wanted to see what the next hull looked like. How much space would I really have? What do the new fishing rods look like? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, this thing really got me. The expansions are also really cool. The Iron Rig is a little bit longer, and there's a lot more to do in it, but the Pale Reach was just beautiful, and it takes you down to this sort of tundra area where you get an icebreaker and you do a bunch of cool stuff. So anyway, the question isn't, should you play Dredge? The question is, why haven't you already? And I was kicking myself when I had to come up with the answer for that. Number 3, Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr. I just noticed there's quite a few ARPGs on this list. I guess that was my jam this year. Whatever. This one in particular really got me right from the get-go. I loved playing the Death Cult Assassin. She was amazing. The story was awesome. It kept me pretty much in my chair until I finished it. Then they just started dumping expansions out. Chaos Divided, Drukhari, the Prophecy game that was sort of standalone where you got the Mechanicus added in there. And then they added the Sister of Battle, and I was just 100% in. And I played that game way more than I even wanted to. I've done a couple of videos about it, one about the new Hierophant class, and one just in general about the game. I have to say, it is one of my favorites of these types of games. The campaign is very, very, very long, which is kind of unusual. Oftentimes these campaigns are shorter. I guess that is a shift in direction, though. Neocore, I should give them some credit. The Van Helsing game wasn't short, and that was pretty much just single player. I think that if you came at this game looking to get a lot of cool content, mostly story related, I think you'd have a lot of fun. There are random quests that you can take so that you can level up a little bit, but I don't really see the point of endgame anymore. I mean, it is pretty much at the end of life. They're in maintenance mode. There's no more new seasons. You just pick whichever one you want to play through. Then on top of that, they released a new class, the Hierophant, but they didn't include that in any of the quote-unquote complete editions, and that's kind of crap. While they are fun to play, and I kind of enjoyed it, I didn't really see a purpose in going through the whole game again. I'd already played through the campaign multiple times, and the Hierophant wasn't that awesome for me to do it even yet again. But you get a lot of bang for your buck for this game, and it's absolutely something that I would say you should just do. I mean, especially right now, it is on sale, 80% off for the winter sale. Totally worth it. I think you could probably get your money's worth even if you spent full price. Remember, though, that you are not getting the newest class in any sort of complete edition, and if you do want to play that character, you will be paying anywhere from $10 to $15 depending on the sale. Number 2, Warhammer 40k Darktide. Here we go. Vermintide 1 started it all off with an amazing Warhammer Left 4 Dead clone. Vermintide 2 kicked it up a notch, and then Darktide brought it all to the 40k universe and honestly fixed quite a few things for me. It did take them a little while to ease into what it would become and fix all of the problems that came with the launch, especially things like crafting and gear and all this other stuff that people talked about. But to be fair, I have played this game so much in all of its incarnations. None of them have really offended me, and I've had a great time. I've done multiple videos on this one, and all around, I just have to say it's probably one of my favorite games. I could go back to it at any time. I would struggle to decide if I wanted to play my Zealot or my Veteran. It's just that much fun. It still looks absolutely great. It plays well. They've made a ton of great changes, and now it's released on the PS5. So you can pretty much play it however you want, and that's really, really cool. I would say that the biggest problem with the game right now, and this is hardly a problem on its end, is that some of the higher end content is very difficult, and you do need to either have people who are willing to be on a microphone to chat or some friends to get through it. Otherwise, you can look forward to getting stomped, because without coordination, the hordes are bad enough, but they start throwing a whole bunch of specials at you, and you're just kind of done. But, you know, honestly, the way I've been playing it, you know, jumping in with my Zealot, getting to sit down with a freaking eviscerator and tear people up. I don't know. It's so much fun. It's just so much fun. Yes, I'm a complete nut job. I'm also probably the most forgiving person about Warhammer games. I can't remember the last time I really complained about one. Wait, I can. It was Gothic. I'm not going to talk about it right now. Okay. The game is currently 50% off on the winter sale. It's way worth it at full price. I would recommend it to anyone. It's just awesome. You should already be playing it. All right, we're finally here. Number 1, Path of Exile 2. I should actually point out really quick that this wasn't in any order of like how much I loved them. It was just the order I picked. So it's not like Path of Exile 2 is my favorite game of 2024. It just happens that it got to be number 1 this time. And while I am wildly addicted to this game, I haven't played it quite enough to call it a quote-unquote favorite. It's just something that I have really found myself drawn to time and again. When I sit down and I want to play something, I'm tempted by Destiny 2, admittedly. Darktide's always right there. But lately, I've just double-clicked on Path of Exile 2 and jumped in. It's kind of hard to talk about Path of Exile 2 without mentioning Diablo 4. And when I first started that one, it got me pretty good. Season 1 was so terrible, I was like, I might never play this again. And then in Season 2, they brought out vampires, and the only thing I like more than Warhammer is vampires, so I played it, and it worked out, and I played way too much. But somewhere in the middle there, I tried Path of Exile 1. I had never really played it before, and it just didn't get me in the same way. Then I heard Path of Exile 2 was coming out, and the early access was hitting this year, so I kind of got excited about that. I thought, hey, I'll give that one a try. I've played enough Diablo 4, and I do want something new. And I remember that in Path of Exile 1, we had this insane skill tree that just looked like a constellation. And so I figured that seems complex enough to keep my interest, and I can actually do some theory crafting, see what I could do. And so when it did hit, I jumped in on day 1. And honestly, at first, I was a little daunted. The reviews made it sound like it was going to be super hard. And honestly, they were right, because I did struggle. I played the Witch, and I made a terrible build, and I was having a hard time. It certainly doesn't hold your hand the way a Diablo game does. It doesn't curate your path through your class, giving you suggestions here and there. It does explain what the skills do, at least, and you can watch a little video of them in action. But for the most part, you could do whatever you want, and that might involve screwing yourself over. So you do have a lot more control, but it makes it harder for yourself as a result. When I switched over to the Ranger, everything changed, and I became way addicted to it, as I mentioned before. And that's mostly because the character just worked for me. Suddenly, I wasn't being owned by bosses. I was kind of tearing them up. And as long as I wasn't completely unprepared, I was doing really well. I haven't died to random mobs since I was like 8th level. And even bosses don't just tear me up instantaneously anymore, which is really nice. All around, I cautiously recommend Path of Exile 2. It is in early access, and the reviews have changed. They're not complaining about it being too hard in the early game anymore. Now they're sort of complaining about the end game being problematic. You can take a look and see what they're saying. Ultimately, I think that now that people have calmed down, they kind of understand what sets it apart from other games, and so it's easier to just sort of enjoy it and figure out what it is for itself. It does lack some of the quality of life things that Diablo 4 had. There's no mounts, so moving around is kind of slow. I mean, when I loaded up Diablo 4 to do the video for this, my character was running around so fast I thought I was glitching. Whereas in Path of Exile 2, not so much. You're a lot slower, even with my movement speed increases for the Ranger. But anyway, if you like this kind of game, I think that you should definitely give it a try. If not now, while you have to pay, wait for it to come out in 6 months and try it while it's free to play. Absolutely, hands down, should be tried for free to play. And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for stopping by. What games have you played this year that really stood out? Are there any you wished you would have tried? What are you looking forward to next year? Drop a comment and let me know. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. This is Robert from Society Case Files, signing off.